Welcome to the Final Four episode of Dead Ball Dancing. Justin, we are down pretty much to the end here. There's not a whole lot left to talk about other than the four best teams in the country going head to head for a shot at the championship. So kind of a slow news week.
I have plenty that I want to talk about. To be clear, but yeah, I was the best four teams won, right? We're gonna get into some of our moments, some of the things that we liked, didn't like, of course, but I'm just happy that the best teams that have been playing the best basketball all year are going to compete for the championship. I think it's well deserving. Obviously, you'll see on the board that we have two separate picks, but we do have a perennial number one that you and I both kind of agreed on. So I don't know if you want to walk them through the aggregation or anything like that, but it looks like both of us have Houston as our best team remaining. Quote, quote.
Yeah, so I actually don't. So this aggregated out kind of the same way we did Sweet 16.
Right.
We both voted for our 1, our 2, our 3, our 4. I skewed the points to try to not have ties. Still ended up with a tie in there. But it is what it is. It gives us something to talk about here. So my champion, as you can see on the screen, is actually Florida. So I have Florida as my number one team. However, I had Houston higher than you had Florida. So this is our aggregate with our individual champion picks over there on the right. We had Duke in third. We had Duke as the better losing team.
Yeah.
But then we split the difference on Florida Auburn.
Yeah.
So no, nothing right, nothing wrong, right? We're guessing. If you watch some of our other shows, you know that we've missed more than we've hit. Yeah. But I think the takeaway from me just in our rankings was that there are so many different ways to look at this still.
Yeah.
Right? It's been all chalk all year, right? So your number one consensus overall seed is the champion, right? I mean, that's how this should work.
Right.
But we know better. And even if we don't, having 4 wins in the Final Four is kind of exciting. I know a lot of people are kind of bent out of shape about it, but
yeah,
I don't mind it because these teams from wire to wire have been the best teams.
And this is why you're a phenomenal host, because I know you read the show notes and you know that I have a comment about this. So this is why I love working with you. But the amount of complaining about this year's March Madness is absolutely insane. Like, I don't know about you, but like all over the internet, X, Instagram, whatever you use, all you hear is like boring March Madness, barely any upsets, all number one seeds. And it's like, so do we just not want to see good basketball? Like, we're mad that the teams who I think were our 1, 2, 3, and 4 for literally the last like 7 weeks of the season, we're really shocked and surprised that they're in the Final Four. And literally any way you spin it, depending on how each of these regions were originally picked by the committee, like I'm comfortable picking any of these 4 teams to win the championship, right? So I don't know. It kind of bummed me to see that there were so many people complaining about it because there was a lot of real good basketball.
And that's the thing, like good basketball. I think the problem is that that's not what the general public looks for. Right? They've been trained to look for those crazy upsets. But I took a small sampling of the bracket just to remind people that there were some upsets. There wasn't a crazy run by a quote unquote Cinderella that I'm gonna bitch about here in a little bit, but Baylor beat Mississippi State. That was a great game. Baylor was the 9. Mississippi State was the 8. Yep. BYU, Wisconsin, great game. Some great bad game. Basketball at the end of it, but that was a 6-3.
McNeese?
Come on, man. I'm going down the list. McNeese over Clemson. Clemson was a team. I can't remember. It's pissed today. Clemson was a team I had slated right behind Duke, right? And then right ahead of Duke, and then right behind Duke, and then right ahead of Duke. And McNeese beat them way worse than 69-67.
Yeah.
I look at the bracket and I see a 10 seed, Arkansas, coming through the Sweet 16. Okay. Well, isn't that an underdog?
Yeah.
All they did was beat number 7, Kansas.
Number 2.
Kansas sucked this year, right? But they beat them. And then they beat St. John's. who's everyone's mid-major darling, and then they essentially beat Texas Tech.
Should have, at least, right?
But yeah, I wish that people would focus more on the content, not on what Stephen A. Smith is screaming about on ESPN. Because like there was a lot of good basketball, to your point, and a lot of teams played out of their depth. I mean, you could even like Vandy St. Mary's. Neither one of those teams should have been in the tournament.
No.
And that was a good game, right? And the 7-1, so it's not an upset, but it was a good game. It was fun to watch.
Yep.
And Louisville Creighton was a fun game to watch.
Very good. Yep.
So I just wish that people come tournament time would like dive in a little bit more. And I know it's falling on deaf ears. Like it's not going to happen, but there's all these opportunities to find gems. Like for me, Ole Miss was a Cinderella team.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Sure. They beat a really bad North Carolina team. Right. And so it looks like, the higher seed wins, whatever. But then they beat Iowa State.
Yeah.
And they probably should have beat Michigan State.
Yeah.
Like that's a Cinderella run. I mean, Ole Miss is a 6. Like if you had Ole Miss in your Final Four, you went to Ole Miss. So yeah, there are gems in this tournament. And I'm kind of disappointed that the narrative has been so negative when I had a lot of fun with this tournament.
Yeah, and I actually learned, like, it's funny, we didn't really cover these 4 teams, like, barely all year, right? Like, we talked about Duke, but we're kind of down on them until, like, midway through the year. And I actually learned a lot about these teams. And I saw that my annoying friend Sean Fiery is watching the show right now, who is just the most biased Auburn fan in the entire world. But I actually learned a lot about Auburn. Because I talked a lot of crap about them down the stretch, honestly. And you made a comment about like playing into their depth. Like, and the way that I thought about that was like, ultimately like the team that has the deepest, most consistent rotation is who's going to end up winning. And what I found in that game versus Michigan State when Broome went out or their big guy, I forgot his name, got in foul trouble early on. They brought this kid off the bench, Pettiford, who is a freshman, and I had no idea this man existed, and he very well could probably start on any other 3 of these teams that you see on your board right now, Houston, Florida, or Duke. Like, to me, I didn't think Michigan State should have been there in the first place, honestly. I thought if Ole Miss was there, it would have been a tighter game. Shit, even the way Purdue looked in the tournament, like, I thought it would have been a tighter game versus Auburn. But I think Auburn just kind of showed that there was levels to this, man. And I'm a bit worried now that I have them as my championship runner-up, to be honest, because they looked real damn sharp in their game, and they displayed a lot of depth that I didn't know they had. So when you talk about depth and who deserves and who doesn't deserve to be here, right? That's the first call out I wanted to say was, man, they have a serious rotation on that team. They're really well coached. So scared of Auburn a little bit, to be honest.
You talk a little bit about Michigan State there. Obviously, played well for most of that game, but Broome continuing to put up points injured, put that away. So I wanted to call out Michigan State for all the people that wanted upsets and Cinderellas.
Yep.
Michigan State is the ultimate stolen valor. Okay, Michigan State is the reason we don't have a fun Final Four, because Ole Miss might give Auburn with an injured Broome a run for their money at the end of that game. Michigan State came back a little bit, but they were never going to come back and win that game. Ole Miss might have.
Yeah,
and the narrative's a little different if you have 3 1s and number 6 Ole Miss.
Yeah,
right. Like no one remembers the boring tournament, right? It's the year Ole Miss toppled the Giants,
right?
Auburn probably blows them off the court, but maybe they don't.
Yeah,
maybe they don't. And I like Ole Miss Florida a hell of a lot more from a matchup standpoint than I like Auburn Florida.
Interesting.
So, I mean, I'd have to go back and look. I'd have to pull up the game against Ole Miss that Florida had, but I want to say they played them real tight.
They did. Well, Ole Miss kind of was a little bit of a giant killer all season, though, right? Like, I think I definitely had them. We both had them between like 18 and 25 all season. And again, we talked about before entering the tournament, they're playing at a high level. They had a top 50 defense, no matter what way you spun it on any category, field goal defense, scoring defense, turning teams over. So like that type of effort always will keep you in games. And I would have loved to see an Ole Miss Florida matchup, because we're going to get into it here in a second, but it's like, if Florida got down big to Ole Miss like they did to UConn and Texas Tech, like I feel like Ole Miss would step on their necks, honestly, because like they're used to SEC ball. They got the depth, they got the length to match up with Florida. So I agree with you. Like I think, Auburn, Florida still be super interesting. But I would much, much rather would have seen Ole Miss, Florida. Sorry, Sean, it's just the reality of it. And quickly, just turning into to Florida, because when we talk about deserving versus non-deserving, right? They're all ones. You have a really good note in here. They're all ones. No one's undeserving. Whether you're got lucky because the other team went cold, or you just flat out pulled a good draw, right? Like Duke kind of did. You know what I mean? You all deserve to be there. But man, dude, Florida is like a couple of mistakes away from like being in Cancun. And if it wasn't for arguably Steph Curry Jr., aka Walter Clayton Jr., just absolutely being a legend in this tournament, they wouldn't have beat UConn, and they certainly would have beat Texas Tech. So I'm not saying they're not deserving. I'm just curious, and we'll get into it when we get into games of the week, of course, which everyone can anticipate what they are. I'm just curious if, one, the holes in their offense, and two, the holes in their defense against a mediocrely powered Texas Tech offense, right? I'm wondering if that happens again versus Auburn, what the outcome would be. Because we know Texas Tech can play ball, right? Texas Tech's been a good team all season. But you get down 13 to Auburn going into half, I don't know, dude. I think that might be game over. So not undeserving, just a little concerned about Florida. I think that's why I had them a little bit lower, to be honest.
And I think it's fair. I still have Florida as my champion, but I can't point to bigger holes on another Final Four team. Florida has, my argument would be, the greatest weapon.
Yeah, no, not even close.
They have the best player in the tournament.
Yep,
and that's saying something, because Cooper Flag has come on. I'm going to talk about that kid when we get to these games,
yeah.
But Florida has the best player in the tournament.
Yep.
But they are also the only team you can look at and say, this is how they lose.
Yeah.
Now everybody else, you're like, well, this happens and this happens, and
right.
Game flow goes this way, and sure, yeah, Duke could lose by 30 when you plot it out like that, right? Florida is the only team you can look at and say, Florida can lose the game because of this one thing.
Right.
And so for me, it's like, what's more important, the star power or the glaring flaw and how you address it, right? And that comes down to players versus coaching. Yeah, and that's something you and I have talked about a few times this year. Is it's like, with the transfer portal, with these guys able to go anywhere they want to go and get paid to sit on the bench, what's more important now? Is it Izzo, or is it all-star players getting paid professional money to play basketball?
Right.
And we're going to find out, right? Florida is the test case. And they don't have Izzo at coach.
Right.
But is it coaching to exploit or cover a defect? Or is it a superstar player putting the team on his back and winning the game? And we're going to find out.
Well, we are, because it's one of those, Florida with star power versus what I would argue has both, right? And I don't want to jump to game of the week yet, because there's still a lot that I want to get through. But it's like Auburn has star power, front court, back court, and coaching, right? So it's like I can't put my finger on Florida, dude. So when it comes to like the four teams that have are still with us here at this point, Florida is the one that gives me the most pause, and the two that don't give me the most pause are Duke and Houston. I wish those two teams were on the opposite side of the bracket, because oh my God, I love watching those two teams play basketball. I mean, that gives me hope for the NBA. which is just a folly's dream because we know the NBA is cooked. But like, you talk about teams that I haven't seen a college team play like Duke or Houston in a real long time. I mean, those teams are just out of their mind right now. We'll get into why here shortly, but yeah,
I mean, you keep saying the NBA is cooked, but
Yeah.
I picture Cooper Flag in a Jazz jersey, bringing back the '90s.
Okay.
I'm picturing Stockton to Malone.
You know,
I'm picturing
Malone,
Cooper Flag to literally. Oh, the Jazz don't have their pick, do they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
Do they?
Yeah, Jazz got the pick. Yeah.
All right. So all the Jazz need is a new Malone. Give me Mailman 2.0. Give me Cooper Flag, where only like 200 people have his jersey on in the stadium because he's the assist guy.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. I think what you meant to say was Flag's the white Malone, and then they need a Stockton is what they need.
No,
but
he doesn't have the style Malone had. He's kind of dorky.
Oh shoot! But yeah, I'm happy with the top four that made it. Again, I think I would have liked to see Ole Miss Auburn test Auburn a little bit, see what they're really made of, because Auburn hasn't been tested that much this year, right? Like they have unbelievable amount of quad one wins and everything. So it's funny how this is all shaping out, right? Because the committee's number one overall seed is our third, right? So I think they're going to be kind of out for blood here a little bit because they smacked down Michigan State and they're beating the crap out of everyone in this tournament to date. So I'm worried I'm sleeping on them a little bit, but we'll see.
Find out. We're gonna find out real quick too, because if they come out and it's like 11-2, at the first break, it's gonna be trouble.
Yeah, agreed. But yeah, good top four, man. What do you got for me next?
I only have one other thing I wanted to touch on, and really the reason is because we want you to watch our college football show this fall. So I am going to talk to you about the evolution of the Cinderella in this tournament real briefly.
Okay.
And just kind of how we think about it, right? I talked about Arkansas earlier.
Okay.
Arkansas, not a Cinderella, right? They're an SEC team. They're an SEC power, one would say. They're a 10 seed, but they won those games. This outcome from NIL deals, putting star players all together, where instead of having a guy who is the best player a mid-major has ever seen, and they make a run in the tournament, he's getting paid $1 million to sell cars for a used car dealership in Alabama and sit on the bench. And it's restructured basketball in a way that we've talked about all year. And this is college football's wet dream. This is what they want. When college football talks about expanding to a 16-team playoff, they don't want Cinderellas. They don't want the equivalent of Gonzaga winning 2 games, because that fucks everything up, okay? This tournament, right, wrong, or indifferent, is exactly what college football wants. And I think that the college football commissioners and committee are sitting and they're looking at this tournament and they're saying, okay, everyone's unhappy. There's no Cinderella teams, and viewership is through the roof. And the product on the court is phenomenal.
It is.
So if you expand the college football playoff to 16 teams, and the 16th team you put in, is not Murray State. The 16th team you put in is an Arkansas everybody's sleeping on.
Right.
And so this outcome is proof positive that NIL is doing exactly what college basketball wants it to do. It's exactly what college football wants it to do.
Yeah.
It is putting the eyes of the biggest fan bases on screen.
Mm-hmm.
The people who are just interested in March Madness are going to be interested. The massive fan bases whose team gets out, the BYU fans, they're not watching the Final Four. You put these 1 seeds and 2 seeds and 3 seeds in the Sweet 16, the Elite 8, and the Final Four, and your product pays for itself. This is the evolution of the Cinderella. We are not going to see 12 and 13 and 14 seeds making deep runs anymore.
No.
You better hope to God that there's a 10 that you can get behind, because these stacked Big Ten and SEC teams are all getting in. And so if you want to cheer for Cinderella Northwestern, you certainly can. But I think the Cinderellas of the past aren't dead, but they've evolved into this. The new mid-majors are the small schools in the big conferences. It's Vanderbilt, it's Northwestern, it's Nebraska. It's the teams that you and I got excited about talking down the stretch. Like, oh, are they going to make it in? USC even, right? Is USC basketball for real? They weren't. But those are the teams, right? So the bottom half of these big conferences, that's the new Cinderella, and that's what college football wants. This was proof positive that they're doing the right thing.
And I think I'm all for it. I'm all for it. I think the only thing, and I can't wait for our postmortem and kind of like our off-season stuff too, to talk about it a little more at depth, because I just wish the transfer portal would wait till after the tournament. Like, that's my only gripe. I don't want you to lose, and then while you're still in the locker room after your loss, announce you're in the portal. I know coaches are doing it. I get it. You know, we can't. It's like the pot calling the kettle black, right? We have to hold both sides accountable. But that's the only thing that I would want to see change, and then I would have no complaints. Go get your money. Go to the schools that are going to pay you the most, give you the most playing time, right? I understand. And if that tightens the competition, shit, all for it, right? But I just want that cleaned up a little bit, honestly, which we could talk about more, I guess, towards our postmortem. But eloquently put, yeah, I fully agree.
Interesting point here. Auburn has played every single one of the teams in the Final Four.
Yep.
But Sean, what is their record in those games?
Yeah, I mean, they lost to Duke, they lost to Florida, and then if it's the Auburn that we saw losing 3 out of the last 4, right? There's no shot. So I like Auburn. I like Auburn to beat Florida. We'll get into it when we go to the game of the week, which is not even next; it's later. Just saying, you can't say they just played the teams, right?
Sean is factually accurate. They played the teams. They played the teams.
Yeah, they're 1-2 against the
yeah. But do you know how many teams did not play all the teams in the Final Four?
Well, Duke played. Didn't Duke play Auburn?
Just Auburn. I think just Auburn.
Oh, okay.
But
fine, Sean.
All right, so we're going to do something a little different because we're running out of content for the year, right? We just talked for 30 minutes about the top 4, but we're going to talk about favorite moments in the tournament. So it could be good, it could be bad, but I just wanted to give us an opportunity, Justin, to reflect on the tournament and kind of the things that spoke to us in a bad tournament. Right? Let's bring out the favorite moments, the good moments from what the public is calling a bad tournament, because there were a lot of them.
Just realized that I made my favorite moments from this past weekend, so that's
fine. That's fine. So mine are also ish.
Yeah, ish. Well, I saw you got one from the 32 or 16. I don't know.
I mean, I can start with that one if you want, because I like to complain about this.
The one that I'm going to go into is going to be subsequently a happiness, and then also we're going to try something new and a raging fucking complaint. And I'm going to pull a clip up on the screen, and then we're going to figure out if I'm right or wrong. So why don't you let us off?
Yeah. So viewers, if that wasn't crystal clear, we're going to talk about Purdue again. So one of my favorite moments of the tournament was Maryland and Queen. Let's call it what it is: traveling.
Travel.
It was a travel. The outcry, the immediate outcry from casual fans, from pundits, even from ball players, was we need to fix this. We need to fix the rule. We need to, call things fairly and evenly. My issue with that line of thinking is that no one cares. No one cares. We're not talking about it now. You know how many non-travels there were in this past weekend of games? I couldn't even tell you. I was hoping you it's over 50. Yeah. I guarantee it. Because it's not something they call. It's not something they call consistently. So this was a favorite moment for me because it kind of encapsulates the whole season. right? This was a huge deal. Oh, yeah, we had the first buzzer beater of the tournament. Maryland wins.
Yep.
But he traveled, right? It's a travesty, and like we need to work on the rules, and refs are awful. No one cares. No one that was screaming about this shit on Twitter watched the game the next weekend and stopped it. Turn off the TV. I'm not watching any more tournament because they don't call travels.
Right.
You call a travel on every single play. It's just part of basketball. It's like ultimate frisbee. Like the guys are going to take a fourth step. It happens. It happens. The problem that I have is like, where do we go from here? How do we articulate the rules in a more meaningful way? Because charges are bullshit, blocks are bullshit, traveling's bullshit. I mean, we've seen calls in this tournament. They're backcourt violations.
Yeah.
And those don't even make sense.
I've seen more egregious traveling calls. Yeah. So
I think basketball's bigger issue, and I won't call it a problem because we're not going to fix it. Right. It's just part of the package. But I think the problem is that the articulation of the rules is such that it's very difficult to call it even with replay. Yeah. It's like, okay, a gather step, take 3 steps. And if you pivot off your other foot, then you get a gather step. And, if you call Euro step, you get 1 free step in addition to the gather step. So, and that's how they play at the NBA level. So, I don't have a problem with the refs. I don't have a problem with the players. My problem here, and what made this a favorite moment for me, is my problems with the fans. Because you can't have it both ways. Yeah. And I like that in a sport that is pretty black and white, in a sport that this year we know exactly what's going to happen, right? All the ones win. There's still enough pieces that get people upset. And I like that. And the reason that's a favorite moment for me is because in order to get upset, you have to care. And the outcry after that travel was so much caring. There was so much caring pouring in from the internet. And I'm here for it. I'm here for it. And I hope they don't fix it because I like to have the argument.
They're not going to fix it because they got to get them ready for the NBA where travel's like not even in the rule book anymore. But you remember last week when we talked a little bit, and I was complaining as well, right? I thought, we got to let the guys play. It's playoff basketball, right? Like let's breed some physicality back into the game, right? Let's not do these ticky-tack fouls. And I do feel like there needs to be a re-review of the rules because some of these games, like, for example, like the Arkansas-St. John game, like Arkansas deserved to win that game, but it was bad.
We're losing you, Justin.
What happened?
Can someone let me know in the chat if he's breaking up in live?
Am I breaking up?
You were for me, but that doesn't mean you were live. I can hear you now, so go ahead and resume.
Okay. Anyways, all I was saying was like I did have certain complaints about the refs, and I just hope they do something about it, right? Because there was so many more egregious travels, right, that also weren't called than the Queen travel. So it's like I don't know. It didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Yeah. So
can I go on a really quick tangent? Your favorite moments are like stacked. I wanted to share a revelation that I had. It didn't fit anywhere like really cleanly.
Please go on.
I think I hate playoff sports.
That's okay.
Yeah, I think I hate playoff sports. I was trying to put my finger on exactly why. We get to the end of football season, we get to the end of basketball, and I start to fade. I start to fade a little bit. Like I'm gung ho. I'm a huge sports fan. I'm all in. And I think the problem for me is that I like the unique shit.
Yes, you do.
I like the weird 1 in 100 years events that happen. And when you distill sports down to the elite of the elite level, weird shit doesn't happen anymore. It doesn't happen anymore. So I think I hate playoff sports. I think it undermines sports for me. And yeah, that's just like kind of a realization that I've had. I'm like way more opening day than World Series.
I'm just laughing because what you're saying is ridiculous, and then my wife is also talking shit to you in the chat right now, which is nuts. So it's just like it's a combination of both those things
She's saying this is a safe space, but this is a woman whose team has never made the playoffs in anything. So,
hey, she's gonna make me fight you, and I don't want to do that. So stop. Yeah, I have an unfavorite moment. I'm glad you brought up officiating because I can't wait to talk about this shit. Let me start by saying, yes, I'm going to talk about Purdue. I'll try to keep it as quick as I possibly can. They looked real good. They looked really good. You called it when we talked about it last week, right? You were uncomfortable with that 8-point spread because we knew like they felt like kind of a pretty damn good team. And I would argue that all said and done, yes, I'm biased, but they felt like the best team out of the Big Ten this year in the tournament. I know they didn't make it to the 8. Wait, no, I'm sorry. They did make it. My apologies. They did make it to the 8. They didn't make it as far as we wanted them to, but it just, they felt like the better team. Like even if you look at Michigan State's loss versus Auburn, I feel like if you swap Purdue in there, it's a closer game. I don't know why. We got taken behind the barn and beat by the refs. Just absolutely screwed over. And I hate being that fan. 3 entire possessions. And I'm not exaggerating. There was 2 possessions clear as day out on Houston. Back to back fucking plays. It's like you have the replay, but you can't use it because it's not under 2 minutes. You can't challenge. When are they going to fix that rule? Right? Ridiculous. And then, yep, I'm stealing screen share. This is a new segment I'm doing.
Yeah, let's see if it works.
Oh wait, can I do that?
We didn't test this ahead of time. This is live. This is live shit. Justin wanted to do something. We're gonna see if it works. Oh, there we go. I can add it to the stage right now. All right, here we go. Floor is yours.
Yeah, get ready. Watch. Illegal screen coming. Illegal screen. Watch the push off. Watch this. Offensive foul. Shove him. Sorry. For the people that didn't see that, let me slow it down for you. Let me just slow it down for you real quick.
I just have to say, if they don't flop in that same play 16 times earlier in the game, maybe they get the call.
Okay, let me just I'm not even acknowledging you. Just not even gonna listen. Rick, seriously.
You really need to get something going to the basket in that situation.
What is that? Because
could have gotten called for pushing off there too.
I didn't play basketball. I played football. If your weight is on your heels, you're gonna get blown on your ass. Well, lean into it.
No, you can use but you can use your shoulder. But the minute you extend your arm,
situation, he could have gotten called for pushing off there too.
It's an offensive foul.
Ooh. You know what? No, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it.
And the issue, I'm done by the way. And the issue that I have with this is they didn't hit the game winner. The guy missed the shot, right? Juzan missed. But instead of it being 2 free throws at the other end for Purdue because it's an offensive foul and they were above the bonus, so they would have got a 1-on-1. I'm sorry, at least. It went from potentially 61 or 62 to 60 Purdue with 7 seconds left to Houston wins 62 to 60 with like 2.8 seconds left or something like that. And I just to end the season like that, it's just it doesn't make sense, and you gotta call that. You just have to call that.
So I know you probably have Purdue stats as like a scrolling screensaver on your computer. So I'm going to ask you this.
I don't have it. I wish I did. That's actually a really good idea.
I want to know their 3-point shooting percentage on the season. I want to know their offensive boards on the season. Because I think the point you're bringing up, and the video is damning, right?
Yeah. 3-point percentage is 38.2, 16th in the nation. And then offensive rebounds, 8.4. They're 205th in the nation.
Okay, so about right on offensive boards. They had 7. shot 29% from the three. And we talked about how Houston was probably the best defense they played all year.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
slight deviations in those numbers is fine. I think losing by one possession is what makes the reffing from probably the under 12 in the second half so egregious. It's because Purdue played better basketball than Houston did for most of this game.
Yeah, I know where you're going with this. Yep.
But for it to come down to 2 points, I feel like I would want Purdue to win that game with what their strengths have been, despite the referees.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not a fan. You're way closer to it than I am. So that might not be fair for me to just come off and say.
It is.
But you lost this game by 2 points, not because of the refs, but because of the play, right? Same with the Wisconsin game.
Fair.
Right? Some of those calls down the stretch were nonsensical. Right.
Yeah.
But if you're not in that position because you're hitting your shots, because you're playing your game, not their game, Wisconsin's not in that position. Purdue's not in that position.
Yeah.
This is probably 68-64 Purdue.
Agreed.
But it just kind of felt like to me, as soon as they correctly got bad calls from the refs, right? And Purdue called them on it. Coach is freaking out. Players are freaking out.
Right.
It wasn't. They weren't wrong to be wanting more from the refs there.
Right. But
I feel like if you don't let that become its own beast, I think they still had a shot at this game.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the bracket, and Purdue beats the Tennessee team that showed up.
Yeah, agreed. Fully. Yep.
Without a problem.
Yeah.
Duke is different.
Yeah.
Duke is different.
I know.
But like you as a fan, there's a huge difference between Purdue losing in the Final Four and Purdue losing in the Sweet 16. It's different. It's different.
Right. And you're dead right. It's so difficult to take that step back as a fan, which is why it's nice to have an unbiased view. Well, not unbiased, but a logical view.
Super biased.
Yeah, from your point, right? Because it's in my eyes, all I was seeing was red. And it was out of bounds, push off, game over. And it's fuck. But then you forget they shot 29%, which on the season, Houston has been holding teams to 30.1% from three. So it's the better team, I think, did win the game. I will say it that way. But what a game! What a game that was, and what
a fantastic game. And that's why I'll refer to our Final Four rankings. They're still up here on the board. That's part of the reason I don't have Houston winning.
Right.
Because sure, the better team won by what metric? Because Purdue had that game dead to rights.
I know.
And down the stretch lost it, right?
Yeah.
So I think Houston's going to struggle with Duke.
Yeah, for sure.
And I have Houston in the championship game against Florida.
Yeah.
I think struggling with Duke gives Florida enough tape to beat you where it hurts. Purdue had them.
Yeah.
Duke's going to have them and lose.
Yeah, I see what you mean.
Gonzaga had them.
Teams
you can't get by on that shit with a team like Florida.
Yeah, I agree. But anyways, that was a rant. I apologize. Thanks for letting me try something.
I think it was good. Was good.
Good dialogue. You only have one more, so I'm gonna jump in again. I just got done talking crap about how he pushed off, but I love watching Duke and Houston, especially, play basketball. Because the brand of basketball reminds me of what the NBA should be. There was 2 identical possessions in Duke versus Alabama and Houston versus Tennessee that had me the most hopeful as a pure basketball lover, right, that I've ever been in my entire life. Dude closed out on the wing. I got it written down because it was unbelievable. Guy went by him. Help defender came in, blocked him. Dude kicked it. Defender sprinted into a closeout, forced him to run to the baseline, and then another defender came to the baseline, trapped them, and it was a shot clock violation. Duke and Houston. And so now I'm thinking, like, these two teams have to play each other? Like, holy crap. And just seeing that level of care and that level of effort on the side of the ball that the NBA clearly doesn't care about, honestly, let's just call it what it is, was just so cool to see, man. And I love the way these teams are coached. I love the heart that they're playing with. And I cannot wait for this game that's coming up. So that's one of the moments that I wanted to see. It was like identical. I was like, didn't I just see that like 30 minutes ago? It was nuts, man. So real good basketball, but just want to shout them out.
So I didn't have a second favorite moment. And then I came to this realization about how I hate playoffs in all sports. And so I went back in. And I looked for a moment from this past weekend, Sweet 16 Elite 8, that fit that mold of what I'm learning my problem is. I want those one-offs. I want those unique moments. I want something that feels one in a million.
Right.
25 3-pointers for Alabama.
Sorry, Mike.
Well, Mike, if you're watching or if you watch this later, I'm gonna apologize too because I'm about to go in. This was a remember who you are game.
Yeah.
This is what probably playoff basketball should be in an NIL age. BYU had no business being this deep in the tournament. And Alabama made goddamn sure that everyone knew that. 113 to 88.
Yeah.
Might have been the score on the scoreboard for this game. That was not the score. This was 2 million to 10. BYU got their cheeks clapped. And breaking a 35-year-old tournament record for threes on a team that is supposed to be good at perimeter defense is atrocious. This was an absolute ass beating. I remember I'm watching this game and I had said I thought maybe it was Duke. I don't remember. Somebody correct me. I said I thought Duke would put 100 up for the first time in the tournament over Arizona.
You'd break the century mark for the first time in the tournament. You said that last episode. Yeah.
And so they did. But after Florida took BYU to the fucking woodshed, this game wasn't close ever. And I really appreciate that we got a game like this in what is supposed to be elite level basketball. I mean, at the 6-minute mark, it was 38 to 30. And you're like, okay, 8 points
in the first half?
Yeah. And then Alabama just decided they were actually going to play basketball.
It's almost a 90 to 50 run.
Yeah. Yeah. They outscored them almost 2-1 in the last 25 minutes of the game.
Yikes.
Alabama, the only thing that takes some flavor off this is they got their ass beat by Duke.
Yeah.
So like I ask you,
Dude.
so reverse it, right? Like give BYU that win. What does Duke do to BYU?
I don't know. They might win by 50.
Like, dude, like, so that was a moment for me because it's NIL and there's all these super teams. And like, this is the flip side, right? Like everyone wanted a Cinderella. Well, BYU in the Sweet 16 was a Cinderella and they got demolished.
Agreed.
Absolutely demolished.
Agreed.
This is what happens to Cinderellas in the new system. You come to Jesus real quick. So Alabama breaking the 3-point record that has stood for 35 years and breaking the record over the back of BYU. That's the moment for me. But it kind of plays into the other things I've talked about tonight where like your old Cinderellas are gone.
Yeah.
And if one sneaks in by beating the crap out of my team, they get what's coming to them. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You get what's coming to you, BYU. Wisconsin would have only lost by 12.
I don't know. I don't know about that. If Ben makes
Better at the free. We're better at the line. We're better at the line. We only lose that game by 12.
By the way, Chad is freaking out about the analogies that you're using right now. So you might want to check in on that. Only other moment that I had before we get super in depth on the game of the week is shout out, by the way, my dad is in town right now. He's live listening in the other room, just for everyone in there. His name's Walter, and he's a legend. And there's another Walter legend in this tournament that I'm about to talk about, because who in their right goddamn mind dribbles all the way downhill into the middle of the key, almost to the point where you can lay the ball up, hit the big man with your shoulder, turn around and face the opposite way, sprint to the three-point line, and huck up a turnaround three. And just without a doubt, it was going in. Who does that? Who does that? I saw something on internet. Sorry, Dad, in advance. That said, this guy is so good, you almost forget his name is Walter. And I'm like, yo, this kid is unbelievable, man. I mean, I've never seen. I mean, that is Steph Curry level unconscious, man. So God, that kid is unbelievable. He's going to the NBA. I mean, dude, he might be rookie of the year next year. Well, no,
You have to, right? I mean,
holy shit, that was insane. Anyways, that's my other moment, because no one in their right mind does that. That's like normal.
so I'll take us way off course. If you're an NBA GM, there's a Walter Clayton, there's a flag.
As the number 1 overall seed,
Yeah, number 1 pick.
flag.
Why?
He's more complete on the defensive side of the ball. He's more complete offensively, for sure. He's a better rebounder. You think Walter Clayton Jr. is a better defender than?
No, I think one of your favorite moments is not Cooper Flag. So much of NBA is fan service, is jersey sales.
True,
right?
True. But
Who's going to sell more jerseys? Walter Clayton? Well, no, never mind.
Well, I would get a Walter Clayton Jr. jersey. Are you kidding me? Tell him to come to the.
No, I just realized we just talked about Flag going to Utah. The BYU fans are going to buy so many jerseys.
Yeah, yeah, they are. Yes, they are. Yep. Big
Sorry, Mike.
going to Utah. I think so.
Sorry, Mike.
Yep.
We
My dad
lost a
said-
subscriber during this show. I think it was Mike.
That's going crazy, dude.
Yeah, Sean, hit me up. We'll talk. All right. So, hey,
Into it. Let's get into it.
game of the week. We couldn't pick just one. There's only 2. We knew this was going to be a long episode. I don't think we warned any of you guys. So, thank you for sticking with us.
Yeah, who cares? Yeah.
So there are only 2 real games this week: Duke and Houston, Auburn and Florida. The Crown Tournament is going on. Boise State covered a 9.5 bet for me earlier.
Won by 25.
Yeah, man. But we're talking top tier basketball.
Real basketball.
We will do a Crown episode next season if it comes back. So let's start with Duke and Houston. You have extensive notes. I feel like I'm going to let you run. So let me
Take your time.
set the tone, and then I'll come in on the back end with some of my thoughts.
Yep.
Duke is Duke. Duke is a blue bloods, a media darling. We were kind of down on Duke at points this year.
Yeah, we were.
But Justin, my question for you is now in the Final Four, in the biggest moment, is this where the legend of Cooper Flag gets going? Is this the second to last college game for him before an illustrious NBA career? And what does Duke have to do to beat a really good Houston team?
I feel like he's about to go off. Like, I think he does his thing. Give him 25 and 12, 7 assists. I think he does it all. Is there anything you want to add? By the way?
Yeah, I'm going to stop you right there. 25, 12, and 7, and you're about to say Houston wins.
Correct.
25, 12, and 7, Houston wins.
Correct.
So I'm going to break this up a little bit.
Okay.
If Walter Clayton Jr. goes 25, 12, and 7, is there any chance Florida loses?
No.
Okay, continue. Duke Houston.
Duke Houston. I like what you did there. I don't know. I don't know what I mean, obviously I chose Houston, to be clear, but this is tough. This is my championship game. I think just for me. I know you have a different pick, but for me, this is my championship game. And one thing that I found watching these two teams is that both of these teams are excellent at making your best player look like your biggest weakness. The Houston defense, I'm sorry, my apologies. The Duke defense made Mark Sears look like a JUCO player, right? The Houston defense made Lanier, was up there as SEC Player of the Year, look like a JUCO player. He was like 0 for 12 in the first half or something like that. These teams are unbelievable. Now, I chose Houston before doing a little more research into Duke, right? And then when I started looking into Duke, I'm a little more worried because they do almost everything right? Both of these teams, in my opinion, are mirror images of each other. I think Duke obviously is more consistent on the offensive side of the ball. 8th in 3-point percentage, 17th in 3-point made, 6th in 2-point percentage, 4th in overall field goal percentage. I mean, we knew they were the better offensive team of these two, I think, but you start looking into Houston, right? And the number one defense in the nation, any way that you spin it, right? The intangible side of the ball, they're great on offensive boards, 27th, and great on the defensive boards, 25th, right? They're 11th in defensive rebounds allowed. Dude, they're only allowing the other teams to get 26 rebounds a game. I don't even know how that's statistically possible. I really don't. They're turning teams over at a high clip. But then you look at the Duke side, right? Duke barely turns the ball over. I think they're number one in the nation in turnovers committed a game, at like 8 turnovers. And Houston's only at like 9 turnovers a game. I think the thing that's going to boil down to is who comes out hot, right? Because you look into Duke, and Duke has the 4th best first half scoring in the entire nation at 41 points a game, right? And then you look into Houston's defense, they are first in first half points allowed. They're only allowing 26 points in the first half of games this year. They only allowed 15 to Tennessee. And I think Tennessee's slightly more explosive offensively than Duke. So I do think that with the way that Houston comes out of ball games and how quickly they fly around with their energy, I think they fluster Duke early. And I think they go into halftime with about an 8-point lead. I think it gets close towards the second half because Duke is very explosive in the second half as well. But with the good shooting that they have on the perimeter, Houston, they're number one in 3-point percentage in the entire country on offense. I think they end up taking this one in a very close game by 4 to 6 points. I know Duke opened up as the favorite, but just with the way this gritty Houston defense is, I think Houston takes it.
Yeah, it's Duke 5.5. The total's at 136.5. I took one look at the total. I bet the over, and then I'm like, oh shit, let me do some research. And I came back and I took the over again. I think there's no chance this game is not in the 70s or higher. I think if Houston gets out and scores points early, Duke will score points late. And if Duke plays Houston tight early, I think this ends up being a really high-scoring game. So if you follow this show, fade that pick. Under 136.5 is the bet you should make. Yeah. I'm on the over because I think what Duke does well are the slightest issues with Houston's defense. And you have to say Houston's defense with a grain of salt because like they don't really have gaps. But the places where Duke is best are the places where Houston is worst.
Yeah.
So I like this game to go, and if Duke can play their version of basketball,
yeah,
there's a chance right? We've seen Houston get kind of cold at times.
Yeah.
Late in the Purdue game, late in the Gonzaga game, the first 30 seconds of the SIU Edwardsville game. So, I think you're having 4 number 1 seeds in the Final Four changes things, right? We're not having this conversation about inequities, right? We're talking about the slightest margins. And so for me, I think Houston's a better team. But there are a multitude of scenarios where Duke plays better in the first half. And I think that influences the second half in ways that Houston hasn't really seen this year.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't really had to scrap for it. Everyone was coming back, right? They blew leads. They never had to fight for a lead.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think if Duke can get them in that position, there's a chance. But Houston should win this game. They are better overall. They are so much better on defense.
Yeah.
But, you have an argument that there's a top 3 player in the country on Duke's team. And I don't think you can say the same for Houston.
Agreed. Just one interesting point that I'm looking at here now, too. First of all, I just, when I was thinking about this and I was thinking about the 25, 12, and 7 that I said for Flag, I forgot that, like, the Houston bigs are like grown ass men. The amount of sheer bulk I think that they can throw at Flag is going to make it interesting to see how he deals with that type of pressure. Because, I mean, these Houston bigs are not only gigantic, but they also have like the hands and eye coordination of guards. Like they were stripping Houston guards on the way to the basket. So that's one wrinkle I forgot I wanted to talk about is like Houston not only has 2 starters that are like 7 foot and like 240, 250, they also have like athleticism at like 6'11" off the bench. That'll be interesting to see how Duke handles because Duke has Malawak at 7'2", but he's a string beam. So I'm just interesting to see the big battle. I think that's going to be. I'm still taking Houston. But it's going to be close. It's going to be a real close game.
Honestly, Duke Houston, gun to my head, would have been the game of the week if we had to pick one.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, agreed.
But we didn't pick one.
Hell yeah.
Oh, man. Oh, I messed up. Shit.
I was wondering why you didn't have it on the screen.
Yeah,
I didn't want to try you.
That's my bad. That's my bad. I got so into the conversation.
Yeah.
All right. Houston Duke.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it looks great too. You should have showed it. It's like
all right. Well, all right. Auburn, Florida.
Sean.
Man, I haven't been that engrossed in like the transition, forgotten to do game of the week.
I know, dude. We were getting into it. So we got Florida at 2 and Auburn at 3. Now I want to let you want to start or finish because Florida is your baby. So
I mean, let me just open by saying I hate that this bullshit is going to come down to injury.
I know.
Florida wins this game and it's written off, right? Like if Florida wins this game and loses the national championship, it's the injury. And I hate that because Florida is the better team. Florida is better than Auburn.
Oh, he's gonna
War Dam, I'm sure is in the chat right now.
Yeah, he's in the chat already.
Florida's the better team. So I hate that there's this qualifier on it now because when Florida wins, when Florida wins, it will be because of the injury to the superstar player. And it's all about blown out arm, blown out elbow. How you play basketball one arm. Forgetting that he played basketball one arm for a whole half against a really good Michigan State team, and they just won anyway. So I hate that. I am not a Florida fan. All right, whiskey all day, but Florida has been my pick for about half of the year, and I really dislike that Florida is going to win this game on Florida's strengths, and the narrative, unless they win the championship, the narrative is going to be, well, they got in there because they didn't play a fully formed Auburn team. That drives me crazy. Give me Florida's shooting over Auburn's excuses. Florida wins this game.
I'm just taunting him in the chat right now. Just trying to spark the flame. Oh,
I'm glad we got an Auburn fan in the chat because I was going to say this shit anyway. But it's more impactful when someone cares.
Oh Lord! Don't jump down my throat yet, Sean. Okay, don't jump down because I'm not picking Florida. So
No, Walter Clayton Jr. is the best player in the country. Give me Florida to win this game. Give me Florida to beat Houston in the national championship. This is the game I'm more excited to watch, but I feel like it's less competitive at the end of the day. I think Florida is going to take care of business against Auburn.
You think Florida is going to win by double digits?
It's not what I said. This game is Florida 2.5 over under 160.5. I will be on Florida on the side. 2.5 feels like not enough. Fine. I've talked a lot of shit. Florida by 5. Florida by 5.
Okay.
And I like Auburn to back into the 5. Florida by 10 with 2 minutes to go. Auburn plays great 2-minute offense and defense. Give me Florida by 5 on a closeout by Auburn.
Wow. That's insane. You're insane. And you got Florida beating Houston, which is even more insane.
The best player in college basketball.
Well, best name too, by the way. So with all that said, I don't have Florida winning this game. So Sean, take it easy and frickin' chat while I talk, please. It's funny that you said the health thing, right? Because you look at my first bullet, and I have Auburn winning, right? And my comment is, it's dependent upon Broom's health. It is. It is. When you have someone averaging 28 and frickin' 15, like, of course it's dependent upon his health, right? If Clayton wasn't in the game, or Clayton was at 50%, we would be saying the same thing. So Broom's health does play a factor into who wins this game. It does. If he's at 70%, Auburn wins. If he's at 70% health or above, Auburn wins. Now, let me tell you why I'm concerned about Florida in particular. I'm not even really concerned about Auburn, right? We know about Auburn. We've been talking about Auburn all fucking year, right? Florida has a tendency to play well in the first half and then come out flat in the second half, like we talked about against Texas Tech and UConn. If Florida comes out flat in the second half against Auburn, they may lose by 25 points. Florida is 133rd in second half defense. Auburn is 7th in second half scoring. That is a dangerous flaw to have exposed against perennially the best offense, you could argue, in the country, right? And you look into it, right? And I'm wondering if it's a little bit of battle of the opposites here, right? Because Florida does a real good job of getting downhill, getting to the free throw line. They're 61st in free throws made per game at 16, 52nd in free throws attempted. They do a great job of getting to the line. It's not even just drives. They get it to their bigs. They're very patient. I like Florida's offensive scheme. I really do. But Auburn is wildly athletic, and they contest everything, whether or not they foul you or not. They are 3rd in the country in blocks. So Florida might get free throws, right? But they are going to get walloped a shit ton getting to the basket, and they are going to get blocked a lot as they go to the basket. I'm just wondering if the lackadaisical effort we've seen coming out in the first 5 minutes of the second half is gonna get them in trouble this game. So I think Florida's defense is a little bit underappreciated. They're good at guarding the three, but they also foul a lot. 210th in opponent free throws made per game. I'm concerned. I'm concerned that it's tight going into the half. Florida's either up or down 3 to 5, whatever way you want to spin it, right? And then second half, Auburn comes out and says, nah, we know what we can do now. I think they fall into that trap. And I think Auburn ends up running away with this one. I do think they win anywhere between 8 and 12 points. But then I think they go into a championship game versus Houston. And I think Houston makes them look like California School for the Blind.
I'll take Florida plus 8.5 for
Well, I'm not a bettor.
a whole bunch. a whole bunch.
I think
Double-digit victory would be wild.
it would be nuts. It would be nuts. But again, I think Auburn takes it. I think Auburn goes in and plays Houston. I think Houston takes them behind the barn shed and beats the living crap out of them. So
Let's take a moment to give the SEC their flowers. Guaranteed a team in the national championship. Big season for the SEC.
Yep.
I got a weird one for you.
Talk to me.
Give me Alex Condon for Florida with a 20-point double-double in this game.
He's like that. He's like the 21, right? Isn't he 21? Number 21.
17. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big white kid. He's like 6'11".
Yeah. He's a good player.
Yeah.
Good player.
20-point double-double in this game.
Yeah.
Auburn's got nothing for him.
Who's guarding Broome?
Nobody. Does it matter? Like, just get up court.
Who's
court.
guarding Baker Mazar? Who's guarding Pettiford off the bench?
I feel like, all right, if I got to pull up rosters, I will. Like, you don't need to. Like this is SEC basketball. Like, Florida already beat these guys. Without their better players. Florida was down 2 starters when they played Auburn. They won that game.
Okay.
Like, we're talking about like here. Like, this is the SEC. So no one's guarding Broome. But what Broome do we get? Broome do we get?
Yep.
And again, I'll come back to my first point. I hate that is the question, because these are really, really good basketball teams.
Agreed.
And either one of these teams could win the national championship, and I wouldn't blink an eye at it.
Agreed.
And I hate that we're going to have to talk about Broome shoots 60% from the floor, and we're like, well, what could he have done healthy? You know, like, I dislike that regardless of what side you're on, because I want to see everybody full strength. Give me the 4 best teams in the country playing in the Final Four at full strength. Who's better? Better?
Agreed. You know,
it's been a long time since these two teams played each other, and a lot has changed.
And Auburn's angry. Auburn's playing angry. So we'll see. But do you remember I wasn't like, it was one of the earlier episodes we did our way too early predictions for where do we think the champion's coming out of? And you said SEC and I said Big 12. And you took an SEC team and I took a Big 12 team.
Yeah.
So
so you know what happens? Duke national champion.
SEC wins.
Yeah.
Yep. That's about right. But I'm riding with Houston. They got like 30-year-olds on their team. And when you got grown-ass men, you play like grown-ass men. I think you're gonna win a game. So
yeah, and honestly, I'm here for it.
Yeah,
I'm here for all 1 seeds. I'm here for top seeds. I'm here for a 10 in the Sweet 16 being the coolest thing we got. I think we'll lose some of the magic, but we gain really, really top tier basketball.
Agreed.
So it's a trade-off, but I think I like it. I think I'm okay with a bunch of 1 seeds being out here, because these are the matchups we've wanted to see since November.
Agreed. And I just put it in the chat. Let us know who you think is winning, except for Sean, because that's freaking obvious. Rick's got Florida. I got Houston. Sean, who now apparently is like ingrained in our show, has Auburn. My wife is still trying to take Arizona. I don't know why she's doing that. Yeah, let us know what you got. Good episode, man. Purdue.
So, got a couple notes to hit on here. Chainlink still doing his thing. If you are not playing Chainlink, not only are you letting us down, you're kind of letting yourself down at this point.
Just see a black screen, but yeah, that works.
Oh, I'm not sharing anything yet.
Oh, okay, cool. Sweet.
Chainlink, play Chainlink.
Play Chainlink.
That's the takeaway.
Yep.
Also, the new Club 602 website just launched. We got
dead ball. It had the
dead ball dancing shirts.
Yo, I got it. Yo, I didn't realize it had the logo on it.
Well, yeah. So limited release on the front end.
Oh,
These only are in the colors of the teams in the Final Four. So limited cut. We'll leave these up for a little bit, and then we'll take these offline. But the brand new Club 602 website is up. We are bringing some baseball content this year for the first time in a very long time. We are going to be doing a little bit of blogging. The goal is followers. So grab your friends, your parents, your grandparents. We need followers. We are trying to get our press credentials for spring training baseball. So the new club602.com website is catered specifically for that. But it has also allowed us to do some cool new stuff like bring the shop directly to the page. So we appreciate you guys for a season of Dead Ball Dancing. We're not done yet. Okay, we got another couple episodes. We're going to continue bringing you this quality content. We'll have a show for the final, and we'll have a recap show where we're going to compare our rankings from our very first ranking show in October to our final rankings. And we're going to show you the gains and losses in the top 25.
That'll be fun, man.
So make sure to join us for that. That'll be out here in a couple weeks. Follow Club 602 and Chainlink and me and Justin on Instagram. I'm on Blue Sky. Our brands are on Blue Sky. Club602.com. You can join our new mailing list and get everything delivered right to your inbox. But no, seriously, thank you to everyone in the chat tonight. Thank you, Justin, for your views on Purdue. Whether they're wrong or not is up to the people, not to us. But it's been a hell of a season, and we're right down to it here. A couple games
right down to it. Phenomenal episode, Rick. Thank you for leading us as always, man. Rick, by the way, does all the graphics. He does all the aggregation, all the formulas. He is the mastermind behind it. He is
unless there's an error, and that's where I showed Justin how to do it.
He is still the DJ and gambling expert. Will always be. But man, the guy's crafty. The guy is crafty. So let's give it up for Rick too in the chat, please. Phenomenal idea. We will be back next season. We'll be back next week, of course, as well. We already have a couple orders for shirts in the chat. What do you mean I'm not pointing to anything? My name's in the bottom right or left, I thought.
Yeah, it's confusing. It's one.
Yeah, it's somewhere over there. Sean wants an Auburn shirt. I need a Houston shirt. My dad probably wants a Duke shirt. So thank you guys. Thank you guys for awesome episodes sticking with us tonight, hour 13 minutes. So we appreciate it. And tune into the games. Let us know what you got in the chat.
Yeah. Let us know for sure. Because this is the chalkiest of chalky brackets, and no opinion is wrong.
None whatsoever. Awesome episode, guys.
Thanks, guys. Dead Ball Dancing. We will see you next week for some more basketball. Have a good night, and see you soon.
Go Cougars.